I've been watching Volume 7 on repeat since its end around early February, and I've been racking my brain trying to figure out where the story could go from where we last left off. With Ironwood broken both mentally and physically, it seems like the main cast will have their hands full trying to prevent Atlas from becoming the next beacon. So, how could this all go down? Well, I have a few speculative ideas. For instance, I believe Atlas will fall in the next volume, quite literally, down to Earth. Hey, my name's Orion. Please keep in mind that this is a test video for the channel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as well as like this video. Now, let's dive right into it. For those of you who don't know, Atlas is a massive city that floats in the sky and is powered by one of the ancient relics bestowed upon humanity from the ancient god. And while the last volume ended with Atlas intending to retreat further into the clouds to avoid the trouble that is following them, it is my speculation that this will ultimately end with their city falling to the earth instead. RWBY often uses a writing technique known as Chekhov's gun, a principle that every element of a story must be relevant to the plot. In this case, it's Ironwood's mention that the only thing keeping Atlas afloat is the relic of creation. And, as it just so happens, Salem needs said relic for her plans. This proves to be solid evidence for why the city will fall in the next volume. But how the city will fall is much more intriguing. While it will ultimately be Salem's goal to make Atlas fall, I think this will be done in some way with the help of Arthur Watts. He was shunned and disowned by Atlas and specifically Ironwood. And the last we see of him in Volume 7 ends with him being in prison on Atlas, so it would make thematic sense that he would be the one to make the city fall. This works narratively because from his humble beginnings, Watts genuinely wanted to help Atlas. But after how the people of the city abandoned him and left him for dead, he would want to be the one to cause its destruction. It makes the most sense that he will achieve this feat by hacking Penny's framework and taking control of her alongside her maiden powers, and forcing her to retrieve the relic from Atlas, commencing the fall. Now, just because Atlas will fall does not mean everyone in Atlas will fall with the city. That kind of mass death would be a bit too dramatic. However, I instead see an opportunity here for the writers to make the high class of Atlas have to humble themselves and live with the citizens of Mantle in the aftermath of Salem's assault. It will not be easy for the people of Atlas to adapt to this new way of life, but I think it shows that in time, they will come together. This allows the conflict of classism between Atlas and Mantle, shown in Volume 7, to be resolved in a way that brings justice to the people of Mantle, while also humanizing the elites of Atlas. Atlas struggled to allow the people of Mantle in, but now the people of Mantle will have a chance to show Atlas that they can do different. Next, I want to move on to covering character arcs and the directions that I think they're taking in the coming volumes. Starting off with Ironwood's story arc, I believe we will see it come to a close with his death. His main goal had been to protect Atlas and more specifically the relic of creation, and Salem's going to have to go through him in order to get it. Whatever goals he had before that might make him play it safe now are gone. We saw in his last battle that his human arm was greatly damaged, seemingly symbolizing him losing the last of his humanity. This foreshadowed his decision to leave Mantle to suffer, as Atlas retreated higher into the sky. Without any of his humanity left, all that matters are Ironwood's goals, and all he has left to lay down is his own life. With Crow's situation, I think that he and Robin Hill will be rescued by the Happy Huntresses. From early on in Volume 7, the Happy Huntresses were shown to be stealthy, intelligent, and resourceful. So it only makes narrative sense that they would be the ones to rescue their leader Robin, and Crow along with her. However, I think we will see a regression of Crow and his character development over the course of Volume 7. And all shipping wars aside, Crow genuinely cared for Clover. Clover was the first person outside of Ozpin to see Crow in a positive light, something that made him better embrace those aspects of himself. With Clover now dead, I think we will see Crow regress a bit and probably begin to drink again to cope with his loss. Moving on to Jean, Bren, and Nora, I think they will try everything in their power to correct their mistakes and redeem themselves from their loss to Neo and subsequent loss of the Relic of Knowledge. How will they achieve this? It's my assumption that they will face off Cinder and Neo once more in the next volume, as the conflict will allow them to make their mistake right and grow from the experience, while also showing how much they have improved. Jean in particular had an encounter with Cinder back in Volume 5, but since then he has learned to control his emotions and has grown immensely both physically and mentally. One key point of growth for Jean is when he met who he assumed to be Pyrrha's mother at her memorial in Argus, later in Volume 6. This was a character-defining moment for Jean in that he had blamed himself for Pyrrha's death. Once Jean learned that it was actually Pyrrha's choice, he no longer blamed himself for what happened, but instead chose to aspire to be like Pyrrha. Jean wants to be a person that can put everything on the line, like Pyrrha before him, and next volume, he could have that opportunity through a rematch with Cinder. Oscar, as a character, was initially met with mixed results. However, his development in Volume 6 and now Volume 7 have been nothing short of impressive. He went from being a farmhand that was in denial to becoming a crucial part of the overarching story. And over the course of his development, he has learned that no one is perfect and that doing the right thing is what matters most at the end of the day. We can see Oscar learn this while traveling with RWBY and understanding what drives her and what motivates her. Oscar has also learned to accept Ozpin as a part of him, and I think as the story progresses onward, we will see them merge more and more. I think Oscar will begin to blur the lines between who he and Ozpin are, and as this progresses forward, it will culminate in him fully becoming an amalgamation of Ozpin and Oscar, and them both accepting that fact. Them doing so will unlock his semblance and make him become a more defined character that we can see as a notable force against Salem. For those wondering why I haven't brought up the speculations for the 4 main girls yet, it's mostly because I think their plots are going to be entirely dependent on every other character's plots in the next volume. The series started with a much stronger focus on the main 4 of the cast, but as it progressed, they became a vehicle to explore personal plots that simply take place in between the larger plots, and these newer side characters bring much more to the story that way. Now, don't get me wrong. The show is clearly building to some reveals, such as RWBY learning the truth about her mother and how Salem is involved with her death. But all in all, I expect them to be subservient to the plots that everyone else brings to the table until they themselves become involved in the plot. RWBY is a story that could go just about anywhere. The characters that Rooster Teeth have created are capable of any twist and turn imaginable. But based on the evidence of Volume 7, these are some pretty safe bets for where things could be headed in Volume 8 and beyond. Remember, these are just my assumptions. I could be completely wrong, but we will have to see, as time will only tell. That's all I have for you guys today. What are your thoughts on my speculation of Volume 8 and beyond? Am I right? Am I completely wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Once again, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you all next time.